Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In this episode, in this discussion session, I'll talk about an interesting argument that I had with a religious scholar slash religious police outside Janatul Baqi. On the morning of the 9th of Muharram, after the Fajr prayer, I was sitting in the courtyard of the Prophet's mosque between the shrine of the Prophet and the broken graves of the Imams. As I read du'as and ziyarah, I felt the morning breeze turned hot. Soon afterwards, the umbrellas started to open. But even with the umbrellas, through the small slivers, the sun was coming through, and it was getting really unbearably hot. Around 7 a.m., I saw many people who were sleeping on the carpets move into the shade because of the sun's heat. Just know that this was just the start of a very hot, long day for Janatul Baqi, where there is no shade on the graves of the Hujjah of Allah. I felt so blessed being there, but at the same time, so helpless that in these days of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, there was no one to give condolences to the Prophet in his own city. As the morning took hold, I noticed a golf cart like vehicle with two people making rounds, patrolling the wall of the courtyard of the Prophet's mosque nearest to the Baqi cemetery. And what they were doing? They were trying to prevent people from standing or sitting facing Baqi or reciting any du'as or ziyarah. I had seen the same cart last night doing the same thing. Mostly women came and stood near the Baqi, near the grill facing the Baqi, and it is likely that the men were scared of what might happen if Saudis uh, ask them to leave and they don't, or what would Saudis do to them. So there weren't a lot of men. Those two people in the cart were one a religious enforcer, and the other one was a police person. At one point, I saw this cart went up to a group of women who were standing near the grill and started arguing with them and forced them away. As I saw this, I walked up to the cart and asked them what were the ladies doing that prompted these guys to push them away? And what was the role of this cart? Like, what were they trying to do? One of the two spoke a little English. He asked me who was I or who am I. I told him that I'm a pilgrim from America. So the religious enforcer who spoke English in white clothes told me that some people pray to the graves and they are here to prevent them from this un Islamic act because one should only ask Allah. The policeman who was beside him used the term bid'ah and shirk. So I asked them, how did they know that these people who were standing there were asking from the graves? Did they hear them themselves? And how do they know that Allah doesn't like what they are doing? He said, asking anyone else other than Allah is against the teachings of the Prophet. So I referred him to Surah Yusuf and the story of Prophet Yusuf that Allah refers to in Quran as Asanul Qasas. It is mentioned that Prophet Yaqub's eyesight came back from the shirt of his son. I told him if Allah wanted, He could have cured Prophet Yaqub himself. But instead, He cured He used Prophet Yusuf's son, Prophet Yusuf's shirt as a wasila. And then I mentioned the usage of word shifa'at in the Quran on multiple occasions. That person replied, the story of Yusuf and Yaqub is not applicable here because that was the Sharia of Yaqub and this is Sharia of Muhammad. So I asked him, did the Prophet Muhammad or Allah discontinue this message or this verse? On that, he didn't have an answer. He asked me to come with him to a senior scholar and have a discussion in English. I told him that I don't have time. I have an appointment for Riyadh al-Jannah. After that, both of them left that area, and I did not see them again till I left Medina. Classifying any action as bid'ah and then not having answers to follow up questions is a perfect example of how the Saudis curb religious freedom and brainwash simple people of the Muslim countries who believe that everything that comes from out of their mouth is Quran because they're speaking Arabic. Furthermore, recent examples of their changing stances on many religious aspects of life in Saudi Arabia proves that their version of Islam cannot be trusted. Let me give you a few examples. First example, previously, Saudis prohibited women from pilgrimage without a male guardian or their permission, but now it is allowed. Previously, women couldn't drive, but now the Islam has changed for them and they can drive. Previously, women were not only required to wear headscarf but were required obligated to wear full abaya. But now things have changed and there is a new Islamic verdict because things have changed in their rules that there's not even a need to have headscarf. And you can see many people, many women in Jeddah and Riyadh without a headscarf. Did Islam change? Did Quran change in the meantime? Or did they just change according to their own desire and the timing? Previously, women were not allowed to work. Now they are working everywhere to the extent that there are women police in the haram of Kaaba without abaya. Previously, nightclubs and movie theaters were not allowed in the kingdom, but they are now allowed as part of the modernization 2030 vision. I believe, or I think, their version of Islam has changed, and there are changes to hadith that they can refer to prove this point. Previously, the sound of prayers from the Haramain, whether in Makkah or Medina, was broadcasted outside on the streets of Makkah and Medina, but now they're prohibited. And only the sound of azan is heard outside when the prayer actually happens. No one can hear that the prayer is happening outside of the haram. Again, a question, did the Islam change? And on regular days, one can wear black in the mosque of the Prophet, but on the 9th and 10th of Muharram, black clothes are not allowed inside the mosque. So let me ask this question, are they making haram what is halal from Allah? And who has given them the right to prevent people from entering the mosque of the Prophet or any mosque for that matter? For Allah says that whoever prevents people from entering and praying in the mosque is the worst among people. It is apparent from these examples that the oppressive Saudi regime manipulates religion for power. They make halal and haram according to their desires. This mercurial and manipulative behavior confirms the underlying argument that they don't deserve to be the custodians of Haraman. With these examples in mind, there is nothing preventing them from changing their stance to allow people to recite ziyarah of the Imams in Baqi and to even open Janatul Baqi if that means holding on to power. So anything that they say about praying to the graves should be considered as utter nonsense because it can change tomorrow. It is just a ploy to keep power and keep subjugating the Ahl Bayt al-Islam to aggression that they have been subjected to for over 1400 years. No Muslim should trust them and their decree. It is a moral responsibility of all Muslims, Shia and Sunnah, to rid the Haramain from the Saud clan, from the Saud household, from the Saud dynasty, and strive towards freedom of Hijaz so that the Ummah can give condolences of Imam Hussain salam to his grandfather, mother, brother, son, and grandsons, who are all the Hujjah of Allah. When Syeda Zainab returned to Karbala on Arbaeen, she saw the broken graves of Imam Hussain salam and his family and friends. This made her very upset, as there was no shrine, no mosque, no pilgrims, no shade, just land under the sun and fear of Yazid in the air. If you don't know what it would have been like 1400 years ago in Karbala on Arbaeen, just go to Janatul Baqi in 2021. where there are no shrines, no pilgrims, no Quran or Salat or Ziyara or Majalis or Mahdam, no Girya, no shade, no water, just broken graves of the four Hujjah of Allah under 24-hour watch of the enemy's army. If their broken graves can't make us wake up, what else will wake us up? Therefore, as we approach the Arbaeen, please remember Janatul Baqi in your du'as. It's a humble request. We should show that we haven't forgotten. May Allah give us the strength to make a difference and to free Hijaz from the oppression so that the blessings of Muhammad Ali Muhammad can be experienced by the humanity and the illegitimate and incorrect ideologies taken down. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. رب اغفر لي ولوالدي ولمن دخل بيتي مؤمنا وللمؤمنين والمؤمنات ولا تزد الظالمين إلا تبارا. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.